Ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you something, brother.
It's Talk Wrestling Live with Felix the Cat Katlovski
and Gemini Joe.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
We heard rumbling. We heard rumors. Homicide. Conan. 5150 at LAX.
Listen live on Mondays at 4 p.m. on NorthCoastUnderground.com.
And follow us on Twitter at TWL 24/7.
I'm in no mood for your wisecrack. Let's get it on.
And this is Felix the Cat Katlovski, and you're listening to Talk Wrestling Live on NorthCoastUnderground.com, where the underground starts with you. We got Gemini Joe back, a lot of wrestling news to talk about. We're talking AEW, we're talking about Impact Wrestling, WWE, lots of things. But right now, we're about to start the Fear After Dark report with Impact Wrestling, the recap show from last week.
Are you scared? It's time for Fear After Dark.
I thought this was fun and games.
Fear is a funny thing.
Encero! Miedo!
Fear was meant for the art of survival. I am the new beginning.
Because we are for Ohio. By Ohio. Because we are Ohio versus everything.
I'm better than every single one in that locker room. Tessa Blanchard is undeniable.
I'm not a man. I'm a machine.
And this is Fear After Dark, and we're going to be talking about Impact Wrestling from last week's February 8th weekly show. It started out with Rich Swann and Willie Mack taking on OVE. Now remember, there has been a lot of beef going on with Rich Swann and Sami Callihan over Rich Swann's past. Rich Swann was homeless at a young age in his late teens, but it was Sami Callihan who got him into the wrestling business and even helped out his family. And Callihan wanted Rich Swann to join the family in OVE, but it was Rich Swann that said that Callahan's demands isn't what family does. So it seemed like Rich Swann was reluctant to join OVE. Now, Callihan didn't get involved in this match, and Rich Swann did pull out the win for his team, closing it out with the 450 splash from the second rope and a pinfall, and that's how we got the winners, Rich Swann and Willie Mack. Now after the match, we saw Rich Swann celebrating holding that X Division championship of his, and after that we saw a replay from the previous week's main event match where the Lucha Bros and Taurus, they beat LAX and Daga, but now the Lucha Bros are saying that they're going to win the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Championships, and what better place than their hometown of Mexico City, Mexico. Phoenix said that the gold is going to be staying in the family, but it's going to be the Lucha Bros who will be holding that gold. So I bet LAX don't agree with them, and they want to prove that they're going to keep the gold with themselves in LAX. Now, we learned that the Impact World Championship match, it's going to be for February 15th at Uncaged. That's going to be a TV special, and it's not going to be a singles match anymore between Johnny Impact and Brian Cage. Now, it's going to be a four-way match between Johnny Impact, Brian Cage, Killer Kross, and Moose. So Killer Kross and Moose have been added to this match, and we'll see how Killer Kross and Moose coexist when there can only be one winner.
How does Brian Cage feel about that? Because this was supposed to be his one-on-one rematch, and now you have two more guys added on to the mix, and honestly, it doesn't look good for Johnny Impact, because we know that he's lost to Killer Kross in the past, and he should have lost at Homecoming to Brian Cage, so...
I think Brian Cage is ready to take on whoever he needs to take on. I think the question really is, how does Johnny Impact feel? Because now he can lose the match without even being pinned. So there's 4 guys total in that match. That's 3 guys, not including Johnny Impact. So Johnny Impact could be on the ground, he can be taking a water break, he can be doing whatever, and he can lose the match because he wasn't focused, because there's so many things going on, and it's not just a singles match anymore.
That would be funny if a company actually did that one time where it was a multi-man match and somebody was on the outside getting some water or something and somebody got the pin.
That would not be a good way of losing your championship gold, especially when it's the highest gold in that promotion.
Exactly.
Then we had Kiera Hogan, and she went at it with Dark Alley. Now, we saw Jordan Grace. She was showing her support for Kiera Hogan. She was on the outside. But Jordan really wasn't there to keep her friend motivated. She was really watching her back, because sure enough, you had Su Yung. She would try to interfere in that match, and she did. However, it was Jordan Grace who threw Su Yung into the ring post, and Yung looked pretty hurt. I mean, even Alley was freaking out, and she lost her focus as Kiera Hogan took advantage and used her fisherman's hook spinning neck breaker, and that's how she got the win with that 3-count victory. So your winner, Kiera Hogan, in that match. And we saw Johnny Impact's reaction. We were just talking about it. He just found out that the match at Uncaged would no longer be a singles match, and he was pissed. I mean, can you really blame him? He's the champion, and now he doesn't even need to be pinned to lose that match.
Yeah, and
he doesn't need to be pinned. He doesn't need to tap out. He can just lose the gold just like that. If anybody loses and he's not the one closing out that match, he could lose it all. And Brian Cage, he was just rubbing it into his face. He told him it sucks to be the champ, Johnny Impact, because Brian Cage, he's going to be seeing him later this week on Friday, February 15th at Uncaged.
Now, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like that should be a situation on how that goes down? Because Ring of Honor does it slightly different when a champion is involved in a multi-man match. If the champion doesn't get pinned, like say, for example, in this match, say like Brian Cage were to pin Moose. Instead of Brian Cage getting the championship right there, he would instead get a one-on-one match right then and there with Johnny Impact. I just feel that it's hard to lose a championship when you're not pinned or made to submit. That's just my personal opinion.
I mean, if you're a fighting champion, you have to be ready for everything and anything. And if Johnny Impact isn't ready to be going at it with 3 other men, 4 people total in that ring, then he shouldn't be the champion. You got to be prepared for anything to happen. If one day you're thinking, oh, it's going to be just this one guy, and then everything changes just like that, you're up against the Sharks, well, you got to prove it. You got to be that you're the fighting champion. You got to prove it to us. And if you can't, well, then maybe it's time for a new champion.
Yeah, definitely. But Johnny Impact, he's passed every test so far when the title's been on the line, and don't really think there's anything different for that.
So up next, we saw a huge announcement that's going to be happening on Twitch as a special, but it's not going to be over the weekend. It's United We Stand. It's going to be taking place on Thursday, April 4th at the Rahway Center in New Jersey, and it's going to be taking place at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and the main event will be the Lucha Bros, that's Phoenix and Pentagon, taking on the returning Rob Van Dam and Sabu. Now, we haven't seen these two in Impact Wrestling or TNA in ages, so we'll see if these two legends still have it at United We Stand.
Yeah, that came out of left field. I was not expecting that whatsoever. I thought it was going to be the return of Austin Aries, because they were teasing a former champion coming back for that show. I was not expecting Rob Van Dam. And we'll see how that match goes. I mean, we'll see if Sabu and Rob Van Dam are still on top of their game. Sabu, when we saw him live at Wrestle Rager 3, he looked a little bit off, but I don't know if that was just because AEW is like a smaller show and he didn't really want to put it all out there at a smaller show, because honestly, WrestleMania weekend, the whole world is watching, and you can bet Sabu and Rob Van Dam are going to be bringing their A game in April.
And RVD, we haven't seen him since the Spike TV days of TNA, so it's been a long time since we saw him in wrestling.
Exactly. And he's somebody, too, that he's still got that loyal fan base. So if he's up for it, he can be a major free agent signing for any of these companies.
And he's probably been away from the business long enough to, not get all those injuries and everything. So he shouldn't show that much signs of ring rust.
No, but the thing is, when he was wrestling, especially earlier in his career, he wrestled a hardcore, the ECW style. I don't know, how much more longevity someone like him has. And someone like Sabu, I think he's being held together by super glue. So, very interesting that Impact Wrestling chose Sabu and Rob Van Dam to go against the Lucha Bros in the main event. We'll see what happens. It's definitely going to be an interesting match. I know I'm going to try to tune in for that show on Twitch.
I got a theory about this, but I'm going to save it for Lights Out for later, and I'll let you know what I think is about to happen. But we then saw Allie and Su Yung again. They were backstage, and Allie, she was just freaking out again. She says the words, "She's here." She just repeats them. She's here, she's here, she's here. And then we saw some writing on the wall in the background, and it's another cryptic message written by R, who I guess we're supposed to assume is Rosemary, and it says, "The witching is upon us. Don't say we didn't warn you. Signed R."
Wow. I'll tell you one thing about Allie, man. She would make Dr. Phil need some couch time.
Yeah, she definitely needs to see a professional.
Could you imagine Anthem Sports bringing in Dr. Phil for an Impact Wrestling segment?
I could see
that would be hilarious.
I could see them bringing in Dr. Stevie. We haven't seen him in a while, but we did see Raven recently, and that's why I thought Dr. Stevie was going to come back, but that's not how he was used.
Yeah, I mean,
It would have been perfect for Shady Acres when Eddie Edwards was there and everything. But up next, we saw Rohit Raju taking on Trey Miguel from the Rascals. That's Rohit Raju from Desi Hit Squad. So Gama Singh, he came out introducing the Desi Hit Squad when they came out. But this was just Rohit Raju in action. But that didn't stop Raj, the other member of the Desi Hit Squad, from getting involved. And Raj's interference, it was brief, but it helped out Raju. Now, it didn't really prevent Trey from hitting that 619 on Raju, and later the Rascals were watching Trey's back because, again, Raj, he tried to get involved, but the Rascals super kicked him a few times, and it allowed Trey Miguel to hit another 619 on Raju and a Meteora, and that's how he got the 3 count. So your winner, Trey Miguel. Now, we learned about a tournament with AAA, that's Lucha Libre, AAA, and it's the World Cup. We also learned that Scarlett Bordeaux, she's going to be making her in-ring debut at Impact Wrestling when the company returns to Las Vegas, Nevada for their February 15th through the 17th tapings at Sam's Town Casino. Now, that's not going to be on this week at Uncaged. I believe that's going to be probably the next week after that.
Yeah, or potentially down the road. We're not exactly sure how
they're going to air it.
How far ahead Impact Wrestling are on their tapings, because we really try here at Talk Wrestling Live to avoid spoilers, so
I believe they filmed like 5 episodes in Mexico. I'm not sure.
Well, is the World Cup being filmed in Mexico? Has that happened yet?
I think that's going to be at Uncaged. That's going to be this week.
Okay, so you're going to have the World Cup plus a 4-way title match?
That's right.
Sounds like an episode we need to watch this Friday, guys.
And then Sami Callihan, he was in action against Puma King. Now, previously we saw Sami Callihan talking about how he was going to go at it with this cute kitty, and that PETA, the animal rights protection group, they would be concerned. So Callahan, he eventually got the win with a pile driver on Puma King, but Puma King, he didn't go out just like that. I mean, he put on a fight. It wasn't some kind of squash match. It was back-to-back right there. So your winner, of course, Sami Callihan. And we saw a quick recap of that feud between Taya Valkyrie and Tessa Blanchard. Now, we saw Taya, she won that Knockouts Championship at Homecoming when Tessa Blanchard...
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off, but did she really win it, or did Gail Kim just hand her the title on a silver platter?
Well, I was about to mention Tessa Blanchard did lose the gold because Tessa blamed Gail Kim for her involvement in the match. She was a special guest referee, but she did get involved in some way, and Tessa Blanchard kept attacking Gail Kim backstage. Tessa even got suspended for her attack on Gail Kim and a backstage worker, but she will be back at Uncaged this week when she has her rematch for the Knockouts Championship against Taya Valkyrie.
Now, is Gail Kim going to be banned from ringside here, or is she going to get involved? Is she going to be the referee?
I don't think she's going to be the referee, but I would assume that they would try to do a good job to keep Gail Kim out of this, but you never know. Gail Kim could slip through the cracks and maybe she will get involved.
Of course, knowing professional wrestling, I could easily see a situation to where Gail Kim tries to cost Tessa the match, but she inadvertently costs Tyra the match, and Tessa wins the championship anyway. I think that's where Impact Wrestling wants to go. They want to do Gail Kim and Tessa Blanchard for the championship. And why not? Because they're the 2 best women in the company. No disrespect to Valkyrie or anyone else on the roster. And it's just, I'm sorry, I mean, I'm not trying to get a date with Tessa Blanchard or anything, but...
Maybe you're trying to get a date with Gail Kim.
No. I think Tessa really was robbed. I mean, it was an injustice. Or as like Gorilla Monsoon liked to say, it was a miscarriage of justice. Tessa Blanchard should still be Knockouts champion, but maybe this Friday on Uncaged, she'll get her championship back.
So then we saw Eddie Edwards and Eli Drake. They seemed to be having some backstage problems. Eddie Edwards, he wanted to be his own individual and do things his own way, but Eli Drake, he always wanted Eddie to cut it out with the jeans and the kendo stick. Eli then said that he wants Eddie Edwards in Team Impact Wrestling to bring the World Cup home, but he wants him to not bring that kendo stick. And he's mentioning that Eli Drake, he wants that old Eddie Edwards back. Previously, we saw him as the world champion, as a successful tag team partner in the American Wolves. And we saw Eli Drake, he was teaming with Eddie Edwards as well previously. And while Eli Drake was telling Eddie Edwards not to use that kendo stick, it was Eli Drake that used it himself. So you kind of have to see Eli Drake as a hypocrite right here. I mean, I wouldn't trust Eli Drake if I was Eddie Edwards.
Yeah, I'm not buying any used cars from Eli Drake, that's for sure.
And then we saw Killer Kross and Moose. They were backstage, and Kross was talking about how close of a tag team that they are. At one point, Moose said that he wants himself and Killer Kross to be the co-champions, but on the other hand, he seems reluctant, obviously because there can only be one champion.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to who wants that championship the most. And my opinion is, I think when it comes down to that, I would take Moose over Killer Cross. Because I think Moose is got that better focus. He actually wants to win a championship. Where Killer Cross, he seems to be more on like this big path of destruction where he's going to destroy anyone and anything that gets in his path.
Now, if I'm Killer Cross and Moose, I gotta be planning out my playbook right here, my strategy, because you already know that Johnny Impact and Brian Cage, they have beef. I mean, Brian Cage is rubbing it into Johnny Impact's face. Brian Cage even allowed Johnny Impact to be speared when he was his tag team partner. He just watched and he just like backed away. So you already have beef there. If I'm Killer Cross and Moose, I gotta agree, hey, let's not attack each other till the very end, till we're the last two men remaining. I mean, you already have friction over there with Brian Cage and Johnny Impact. They're not coexisting. The best you can do is coexist until the very end if you're Killer Cross and Moose.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I don't see that alliance lasting very long in the match. I could easily see those two going at it almost just as easily as I could see Johnny Impact and Brian Cage go at it.
So in our main event, we had LAX versus the Lucha Bros, and the tag team championships for Impact Wrestling, they were on the line. Now the Lucha Bros, they came out to this really cool and unique entrance. There was a drummer, and there was these dragons in the background. Now, this episode aired on February 8th. The Chinese New Year was February 5th, so I don't know if that was connected some way. I know dragons aren't really connected to Mexico, I don't think, so that was kind of interesting that they had that. Now, during that match, LAX, they worked together to hit that cutter, a code breaker, a back kick, and their finishing alley-oop slam going from their playbook from Homecoming when they became the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions. But this time, they could only get a 2 count. So we saw the Lucha Bros, they went for that Fear Factor pile driver, but it only got a 2 count as well. I think we saw another pile driver, and it got that same result, still a 2 count. And later, you had Ortiz, he got knocked off that ring apron. We saw another Fear Factor pile driver. I think that's 3 pile drivers right there. And Phoenix, he went flying to the outside like a bird with that somersault plancha, taking out Ortiz again.
God, I love Phoenix. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. Quickest wrestler in the sport, I would say.
And that's when Pentagon got that 3 count victory on Santana, with the Lucha Bros delivering on their promise to keep the gold in the family, but in the hands of the Lucha Bros. So your winners, Pentagon and Phoenix. Now the post-match, we saw Conan, he got LAX and the Lucha Bros to shake hands. Now kind of seemed forced because both teams, they were staring each other down, so maybe there's still beef over there, especially when the LAX, they just lost the championship. It's in the family still, but it's not going to be LAX carrying those golds in the family. It's the Lucha Bros carrying that gold all in the family right there.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a rematch. There almost has to be, because it seems like it's 1 win apiece. LAX won at Homecoming, and the Lucha Bros won here. You almost have to have a third match, wouldn't you think?
You would assume so, but what's going to happen when we already know that the next tag team that the Lucha Bros are going to be facing is RVD and Sabu? Now, can the Lucha Bros hold the tag team championships all the way till April 4th? Because that's a long way from now.
Well, maybe LAX should be added. Maybe they should make it a triple threat match.
A lot of things can happen from now till April, so never say never.
Yeah. With the Impact Wrestling, that's just another event for WrestleMania weekend. We know MLW, I believe they're running 2 shows WrestleMania weekend, including the second Battle Riot. We know that Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling are going to run their G1 Supercard of Honor at Madison Square Garden. And then that's, of course, we know what WWE is going to do.
Well, it's interesting because WWE, they're staying in New York for their WrestleMania weekend, and Impact Wrestling, they're going to New Jersey. AEW, they're going to New Jersey as well. I believe United We Stand and that AEW show, what was it, the Slumber Party one?
Slumber Party Massacre, yeah.
Those are I think that's the same night, isn't it?
I believe so, yeah, because, it's going to be head-to-head competition, which is going to be interesting.
So whether you're in New York or whether you're not so far away in New Jersey, you got a lot of wrestling to be excited about for WrestleMania weekend.
There's going to be fans coming from all over the world.
But that does it for our report on Fear After Dark from the recap of February 8th, Impact Wrestling.
So what exactly is coming up in the world of pro wrestling? Well, Felix the Cat will have that for you coming up right after this here on Talk Wrestling Live. This is NorthCoastUnderground.com, where the underground starts with you.
Ride the winds, flying far and soaring like a hawk.
Run a marathon with the endurance of a tiger.
Swim across the ocean like a dolphin.
Beast Energy X. Do you have it in you?
Buy Beast Energy X at all Waffle Max locations and unleash the beast in you.
Join the Beast Energy X fan club and get free perks. Sign up by following us on Twitter at Beast Energy X.
Welcome back to Talk Wrestling Live.
Follow us on Twitter at TWL 24/7.
I'm not finished with you!
And now, let's get back to the show.
Hey wrestling fans, welcome back to Talk Wrestling Live. We're just about to get started with Lights Out, and we're going to be talking about everything that's coming soon to Impact Wrestling. So let's kick it off with Lights Out.
Shut up, 5. A 10 is talking.
I'm surprised you're containing yourself. It's like looking at a work of art, Josh. Scarlett Bordeaux has arrived on Impact Wrestling. Oh my God.
Hey, tell them to cover up. I will not be hot-shamed.
Talk about making an impact.
Make wrestling sexy again.
Scarlett Bordeaux has arrived. And now she's leaving, and it's, oh Lord.
Turn the lights down low, cause it's time for Impact Lights Out.
And this is Felix the Cat Katlovski for another edition of the Lights Out Report. And we are talking everything that's coming soon to Impact Wrestling. So first I want to talk about Uncaged, which happens on February 15th this week, on Friday, Impact Wrestling TV Special. We will be seeing Taya Valkyrie, the Knockouts Champion. She's going to be taking on Tessa Blanchard in a street fight where the Knockouts Championship will be on the line. So Taya Valkyrie, she won the championship at Homecoming. Gail Kim got involved at Homecoming when she was a special guest referee between them. And Tessa Blanchard blames Gail Kim for her loss at Homecoming because she should still be the champion if it wasn't for Gail Kim in her mind. Now they're going to be in a street fight, so who knows if Gail Kim's going to get involved in that match. We will also see Johnny Impact, the Impact Wrestling World Champion. He's going to be taking on Brian Cage, as well as Killer Cross and Moose for that Impact World Championship. And it started out as just Johnny Impact versus Brian Cage, but quickly it became a four-way match. And this means that if Johnny Impact, even if he doesn't get pinned, he can still lose that championship. So it really sucks to be the champ, just like Brian Cage said. It sucks to be Johnny Impact right now because you got to be growing gray hairs left and right now. You got to be stressed out because even if you're not pinned, even if you don't tap out, you can still lose that gold, everything you worked for. So we also know that the World Cup is going to be happening for Impact Wrestling, and it's going to be between AAA, that's Lucha Libre AAA, and it's going to be Team AAA, Puma King, Aerostar, Vikingo, and Psycho Clown, and they will be taking on Team Impact, who will be Sami Callihan, as well as Eddie Edwards, Eli Drake, and Fallah Bahh. So that is the team for Team Impact Wrestling. And then we also know that Ethan Page will be taking on Willie Mack. So that's what's happening on Uncaged. That's going to be this Friday on Pursuit channel, as well as the Twitch app if you want to watch for free. If you don't get the Pursuit channel, all you have to do is know how to use technology. All you got to do is use the Twitch app. You can watch from anywhere in the world that has the internet. We also know about this show. It's going to be Impact Wrestling returning to Las Vegas, Nevada for TV tapings on February 15th through February 17th. It's happening at the Samstown Casino, and we know that Scarlett Bordeaux, she's going to finally be making her in-ring debut at those set of tapings. But that's going to be interesting what happens when Impact Wrestling returns to Las Vegas, because as everybody knows, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But there's a show called United We Stand. It happens on April 4th, just before WrestleMania weekend. That's on a Thursday. It's going to be a live Twitch special from the Rahway Rec Center in New Jersey. Now, I really want to talk about this main event match. It's this match between Rob Van Dam and Sabu. They're going to be tag teaming, and it's been a long time since we've seen them. They're going to be taking on the Lucha Bros, and right now, the Lucha Bros are the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions, so if they get to keep those belts come April, a lot of things could happen. Now, I'm going to make a big, bold prediction here, what I would do if I was Impact Wrestling. Now, that's also going to depend on whether the Lucha Bros can remain the Tag Team Champions by April for that United We Stand show. While I think it's a dream match, I think Impact Wrestling needs to keep this buzz going. We've been talking about the buzz, the news, just holding that, controlling that buzz, letting people talk about your product, because that's how you know you're getting the right publicity. And if Impact Wrestling wants to keep that buzz, You know, it is WrestleMania weekend. Something big has to happen. This isn't just some dud show. This is the big show. If WrestleMania does turn out to be a dud, then you need to take advantage of that. You need to take that buzz instead of WrestleMania, instead of WWE. And if I was to control Impact Wrestling, if I was to make a big, bold prediction, this is what needs to happen. RVD and Sabu, yeah, it was a surprise, but I think something even bigger is coming. What I think is the Young Bucks, they need to make an appearance. They need to cause some kind of beef with the Lucha Bros. The Lucha Bros, they're shared by Impact Wrestling. They're shared with AEW. They're shared with TWL. So if you already have those talents, why wouldn't you create some kind of storyline buzz going right there? The hottest tag team of AEW, the Young Bucks, and then the Lucha Bros, the hottest tag team of AEW and Impact Wrestling. Could you imagine if Impact Wrestling is going to be able to be part of the AEW moment to build off that AEW buzz? I mentioned Ring of Honor is pissed at AEW, but maybe it's also kind of Ring of Honor's fault. I mean, they never wanted to work with Impact Wrestling, and now Impact Wrestling probably wants to work with AEW to share that buzz. They want to ride that wave together. Now, AEW, they're probably not going to have their own championship belts. Maybe they will. For a while, they might not have them, though. And if the Lucha Bros still hold those Impact Wrestling Tag Team gold, maybe we will see the Young Bucks going for Impact Wrestling Tag Team Championships, carrying into AEW. I mean, I would do that if I was Impact Wrestling. If AEW doesn't have gold of their own, that's what they need to be doing. So if I'm Impact Wrestling and I want to be part of this wave, if I want to be part of this buzz, this AEW moment, getting people to talk about you, keeping the Impact Wrestling product in the news, receiving the right publicity, this is what needs to happen. Now, this would be a huge surprise. Can you imagine all the AEW fans, all the Ring of Honor fans who were once fans of the Young Bucks, all the New Japan Pro Wrestling fans who were once fans of the Young Bucks? Could you imagine if Impact Wrestling, they have that moment where the Young Bucks do show up on Impact Wrestling for their Twitch special, United We Stand? Think of that name, United We Stand. It already has something about it right there. Why would they call it United We Stand? Is there some patriotic holiday around that time? The point is, if I'm Impact Wrestling, if I'm AEW, we need to work together. We need to make something big happen. It's WrestleMania weekend. We have a huge advantage because we're right in that same area where WrestleMania is taking place. I mean, given, Impact Wrestling, they're doing their thing in New Jersey. That's not that far away from New York. It's like a little drive away. So if you want to keep that buzz going, if WWE is not fulfilling on their buzz, then this is what you need to do. So that's my 2 cents on what I think is coming soon. I gave you the report on Lights Out, what's been scheduled for Impact Wrestling for this week at Uncaged. We heard about what's coming soon for Impact Wrestling's Las Vegas shows, their set of tapings when that happens. So that about does it for the Lights Out report. Thanks for joining us on Talk Wrestling Live. Thanks for listening on NorthCoastUnderground.com, where the underground starts with you.
You've been listening to Talk Wrestling Live. Listen live on Mondays at 4 p.m. on NorthCoastUnderground.com.
And follow us on Twitter at TWL 24/7.
Goodbye and good night back. Rest in peace.